You meet someone, the conversation goes well, you feel it, there is something there. Maybe she laughs a little easier than she does with other people. Maybe she keeps finding reasons to stay in the conversation a little longer. And then a few days later, nothing. Or she tells a friend she just did not feel a spark. And you are standing there thinking, what happened? Because from where you were standing, something was happening. That experience is more common than most guys talk about. And the confusing part is not that she was not interested. The confusing part is that she might have been in some early unformed way, and then it faded before it ever became something she could name. That is the thing most guys do not understand about how attraction works in women, and honestly, in most people. It does not arrive as a clear decision. It builds slowly, often below the level of conscious thought, and it can disappear just as quietly if nothing is there to sustain it. Here is what most guys get wrong. They treat attraction like it is a test with a pass or fail at the end. You say the right things, she feels it, done. So they focus almost entirely on the moment, on the conversation, on what to say, on whether she smiled. And when she pulls back later, they go back and replay that conversation looking for the mistake. But the mistake usually was not in the conversation. It was in everything around it. Psychology has been looking at this for a long time, and the picture it paints is pretty consistent. Attraction in humans, especially for women, tends to be contextual and cumulative. What that means in plain terms is that how a person feels around you is built up from dozens of small signals over time, not one big moment. Robert Zeijohn's research on what's called the mere exposure effect showed that familiarity, when it's combined with positive experience, actually deepens how appealing someone feels to us. We warm to things we experience repeatedly in a good way. That is not manipulation. That is just how the human brain works. Comfort and warmth compound over time. There's also something called emotional salience. The moments that stick in her memory are not the ones where you said something clever. They're the moments where she felt something. Ease, safety, being genuinely heard. Attraction often lives in those emotional impressions before she has put any words to it at all. Researchers who study social cognition talk about how a lot of our evaluations of other people happen fast and unconsciously, based on subtle cues like how relaxed someone seems, whether they are reactive or steady, whether being around them feels like effort or like relief. So what does this mean for you? Practically, it means the conversation is not where attraction is primarily decided. The conversation is just one piece of a larger picture she is building without even knowing she is building it, which means your job is not to perform in the conversation. Your job is to be the kind of person who makes someone feel genuinely comfortable, respected, and interested across time and across contexts. What that looks like in behavior is simpler than you might think. It means being consistent. Warm one day, cold the next is not intriguing. It is just confusing. And confusion does not build attraction. It builds anxiety. It means being present when you are with her, not managing the interaction, just actually being there. There is a real difference between a guy who is listening and a guy who is waiting for his next line. And people feel that difference, even if they could not explain it. It means having your own life that you care about, not because that is a strategy, but because a person who is genuinely engaged with their own world is more interesting to be around than someone who is just waiting to be chosen. And here is one that surprises a lot of guys. Patience. Not the passive kind where you just wait and hope. The grounded kind where you are not pushing the interaction to get somewhere, where you are not anxious about the outcome in a way she can feel. Anxiety is one of the most contagious emotional states we know of. If you are tense about whether this is going well, she will feel some version of that tension, even if she cannot name it. Calm is also contagious. A guy who is relaxed, who seems like he is genuinely enjoying himself and not running some internal scoreboard, that feels good to be around. And feeling good around someone is at its core what early attraction is. Now here's the reframe, and I want you to sit with this one. Most guys walk into a conversation with a woman thinking about whether she is going to like them. Flip that. Get curious about her. Actually curious, not as a technique, but as a genuine shift in where your attention lives. When your focus is on whether you are being liked, you are in your own head, you are performing, she can feel it. When your attention is genuinely on her, on what she is saying, on what she seems to care about, something changes in the dynamic. You become easier to be around, and you also start making better decisions because you are actually paying attention to who she is rather than running a presentation. The deeper truth is that attraction is not something you create in someone through a series of correct moves. It grows in the space between two people when both of them feel like they can exhale. Your work is not to manufacture that feeling. It is to be the kind of person in whose presence that feeling is possible. That means being honest, being present, being patient, and trusting that if something real is there, it will have room to grow at its own pace. Women, like most people, often feel something before they understand what they feel. The attraction exists as a vague warmth, a feeling of looking forward to seeing you, a noticing that fades if it is not tended to, but can deepen into something real if it is. The guy who understands this stops chasing the spark and starts being someone worth coming back to. You already have more to work with than you think. The long game is not harder than the short one. It is just quieter.